Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Big Apple Hockey. I, of course, am the very, don't even know how to describe myself today. I'm Mark Williams, your host, and I am joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only John Volkowski.
Braden Schneider season.
Yes, thank God he's up. And joining us in the bottom box, Anthony Loracco.
How many New York hockey teams are there? Is it just Buffalo and the Rangers? Is it two? Oh, I thought there was a third one.
Anthony, I got to ask you this question. What's it going to be like tomorrow night to actually see the Islanders again?
It's almost going to feel like it's the season opener. It's just, last time they played was January 2nd, so January 1st, New Year's Day against the Oilers, actually. Was the last time they played. So it's been a long what was that, 11-12 days between games. So
I feel like the song All My Friends Are Dead really applies to the Islanders right
now. Unfortunately, there was bad news to pass on this week. The tragedy that happened with Teddy Balkand. Please tell me I pronounced that name right.
I think you did.
All right. Yeah. That's something that all players fear. Such an incident. So if you're going to go play a game or anything, make sure you pay tribute to him by putting sticks by the door. The sticks for Teddy. I don't have another game until next Tuesday, so I can't do it until then. But it was a week where one New York team was playing games, and that would be the New York Rangers. By the way, watch. There he is, Phil. Yeah, sticks for Teddy.
Just in peace, get him.
But after every single Ranger game, check out, or if not the next day, check out Phil when he does a good, the bad, the ugly. Although it's now the show itself will now be called The Final Buzzer with John Volkowski. Did you even do a good, bad, the ugly when you did the viewing party?
No, I did not. I was going to do it the next day, but I just realized, you know what, we have another show today. So I will make sure that we will do more of those after the games and stuff. I'm going to do more watch-alongs, by the way. So if anybody
hopefully I'll be able to join you for some.
I'm trying to see what I have going on Thursday. It would be awesome to get Mark along with me, but I will see what's going on, and then I will try to schedule it as soon as I possibly can once I know. So I'll keep you all updated.
Okay. The New York Rangers this week went 1-2. They lost to Vegas and LA, but they beat Anaheim. Tomorrow night they finish out their West Coast trip versus the San Jose Sharks. I know Anthony is going to feel so bad for the Rangers right now because Artemi Panarin was in COVID protocol and came out, and Gerard Gallant just goes right back in. Chris Knobloch is currently coaching the team because, after all, I mean, it didn't work out with the 9-0 win like last year, but this year not so much. And does your team have any trouble with COVID or anything like that?
Nah.
All right. So the Rangers.
Wait, there's a 13.
Yeah. Just a few. Rangers improved to 23-10-4. They got 50 points. They're second in the Metro right now. And there weren't really many headlines to go with this. They had a really strong game with Vegas. With Anaheim. Vegas looked like they just got off the plane. And LA, LA has been hot. And so what really sticks out with you with this week, Phil?
Inconsistency. Poor efforts against teams that play a structured defensive game. It just seems like the efforts weren't there in those two games. And I thought the LA game was probably the worst effort they put in all season. Mike even said it before in the chat here. The Rangers played maybe for about 2.5 minutes in that game. And it was just terrible. And he follows up with this comment. I was being generous. Mike, you might have been a little generous because the effort was absolute utter garbage. I need more from players like Filipino, who has just been disappointing this season. I need more from Alexi Lafreniere on a night-to-night basis, even though this last couple of games were better. I need more from Capo Caco. I need more from him. The fact that they don't generate enough chances at 5-on-5 is a major concern. It seems like they're over-relying on the power play to get the job done. And you're not going to win if you continue to do that. So I addressed that earlier on in the year, and now it seems like they're falling back into that. So time to start generating more offensive zone time and more high danger chances during that offensive zone play. So,
Anthony.
I didn't like how they looked against Vegas at all. And then the effort against LA was really bad. I had money on that game with LA, which we'll talk about later and now that New York has gambling now, which is really cool. But yeah, they didn't have a good effort in that game against LA. And I think really one of their Achilles heel is just going to be the bottom pairing: Tenori, Nemeth, Hayek. All three of those guys are not good hockey players. And I think to go far in the playoffs, you need a good 6-man unit with no real obvious weak links. So that's something that I think they'll look to address coming in the trade deadline. But listen, Igor has been out with COVID protocol. Panarin, he's back. So again, nothing really to worry about the team. Drastically, I just think they need to shore up their defense in that bottom pair. But like I said, at this point, you showed their record before: 23-10, second in the Metro. They're a good hockey team. They're going to be there to the end. I just think if I was a Ranger fan, I would just be painfully disappointed with seeing Nemeth and Tenori on the ice. I do like how they sent Niels down to Hartford. I think there's no harm in getting a young defenseman some seasoning in the AHL, especially when either A, they're not playing every night, or B, you can feel like their games maybe hit a wall or stagnated. So I think there's no doubt that he will be a good defenseman for the team for a long time, but there's no harm in sending him down to Hartford. But yeah, overall, I just think they need to improve their bottom pairing defense.
It's one of those things that I think all their flaws we pointed out still are there. Their third line center is not clicking. Whoever it's been Filipino, but who are they going to make either via trade or within the lineup? Can Morgan Barron step in there? I don't know. If you asked fourth line, that's a different story. Their bottom six, they need work. Their fifth and sixth defensemen, it needs to be addressed as well. So I think this just kind of reinforces everything. And then but then glass half full, you look at it and go, they got 50 points. They're playing well, even though they got 50 points, and there's a lot of problems that you could see, that the casual fan could see with them. So I mean, that's the way just to kind of look at that. And unfortunately, there isn't much to talk about him with this week because the Vegas game was total crap. Although I have to ask one question. Did Anthony, did you see the Mark Stone goal?
Muted.
You muted.
With the foot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that a kicking motion to you?
Yeah, that's a kick.
Yeah. Here's the thing with goals. I have a problem with kick-related goals. Just like goaltender interference, I think there's not enough consistency with them. For instance, it was the year 2 years ago or 3 years ago, the year the Islanders swept Pittsburgh in round 2. Devon Taves got a goal called back that would have been big at the moment, where they say he kicked it in. And then you see goals like the Mark Stone goal count, and then just other goals along the way. And a lot of them are very similar. And I think there's no consistency with it. The thing that I don't like about it is that you're allowed to position your foot, like redirect the puck, as long as your skate doesn't really come off the ice and you were physically kick it in. But in my eyes, it's really all the same thing, whether you all out kick it or you kind of just redirect it, because the intent is the same thing. You're trying to score with your foot.
Mm-hmm.
So Yeah, I mean the Mark Stone one. I don't. He didn't like physically pick his foot up the ice and kick it like a soccer ball, but his intent was to get the puck in with his foot. So it doesn't make any sense to me. But listen, it is what it is, and I don't think they're going to change it anytime soon.
Oh, because also Anthony Stolarz kicked the puck into the net, and I'm assuming that one, because I still never heard it. I'm assuming that one was the whistle was about to blow. Phil, what's your thoughts on the Stone goal? Because I thought I saw him turn the skate and move the skate towards the puck.
Jack says it right here for me, and I actually said this in an interaction with somebody on Twitter. Just because you can't, or just because you don't lift your foot up off the ground doesn't mean you can't kick goal. You ever watch a soccer play where they basically do the soccer equivalent of a one-timer, where they sweep the leg along the ground and kind of one-time the ball into the net? That's a kick. That's a kick. It's the same thing. And I just, there's no, like Anthony said, no consistency in this. Do you remember, Mark, the Milan Lucic one from about like 6 or 7 years back? I think it was Lucic's last year with the Bruins, where he blatantly kicked the puck into the Rangers net and they allowed the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lucic got away with one, and that was back before they really changed up the rules. It seems like the NHL is really driving towards kind of making these goals count because they want offense. They want these goals to count. They want the scores to be higher. I guess that's where they're going with it these days. But again, you need consistency with this, and there needs to be a clear-cut end-all be-all definition of what kicking is at this point, because it's getting ridiculous seeing some of these called back and some of them not called back when it's the same exact motions, the same exact directions, the same exact foot positioning, and it's different referees. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm kind of tired of it. So if you're going to let them all in, let them all in. If you're going to disallow them all, disallow them all. Chris Neal in the 2012 playoffs. Oh, God, in the quarterfinals versus Ottawa. That was another one.
Counted. That was game 2, I think. Yeah. That ended up being a game winner. So
yeah, and I don't know. It's just it's enough. I've had enough with it. Time to make a decision on this and stick with it.
What's going to be easier to figure out? What's a catch in the NFL or what's a kick in the NHL?
I think maybe the kick in the NHL, because the catch in the NFL, just there's so many elements.
All right. Well, guys, what do you think about the Rangers this week? Kind of uninspiring. They got to finish out a road trip tomorrow night in San Jose. How's that going to look? Throw all your thoughts in the comments down below. So we actually are going to talk about the Islanders. There is stuff to talk about with the Islanders. I'm going to move on to that right now. All right. So again, Anthony, I can't believe you still haven't seen a game since the Edmonton OT winner. And tomorrow night, the Islanders could be in jeopardy of not playing again versus the New Jersey Devils. There it is right there. There's still right now 11. I don't think they're 11 points out of the playoff spot. I got to fix that one. But the Bruins have been playing games still, so good for them. But speaking about COVID protocol and head coaches, Barry Trotz into COVID protocol, Brian Pollock in as well. They're going to play 54 games over the next 104 days and 11 games before the All-Star game, and 10 of those are at home, 3 versus teams in playoff positions. Can this be the night tomorrow night that the Islanders salvage this season or start to salvage this season?
Well, before I get into any of that, Barry Trotz is the reason why he wasn't behind the bench the game against Edmonton was his mother passed away. And that was the hiatus that he had. So condolences to Barry Trotz. Losing your mother is something that's, I mean, listen, I know Phil knows about it, and it's something that even when you're old like Barry Trotz, an older man, it's still something you never want to go through, but we all will someday. So condolences to him. But he finally finally got back to the team a couple days ago, and now he's out again with COVID. So that's frustrating. Ryan Pollock's has been skating on his own, so I think he's getting closer to coming back. But now, that's going to be delayed at least for a little bit because he's got COVID. But listen, it's just we've talked about it before in the past. They can't get into any rhythm with this schedule. The only good thing is, aside from Ryan Pollock, now everyone's healthy. Brock Nelson was in COVID protocol. He's back now. Wallstrom's back now. So Pollock's the only guy they're missing. Like you mentioned, Mark, a lot of their games at home coming up. Only three of them are in the playoffs. So yeah, I mean, if this is their chance to do it, it's got to be now. I just looked before. Boston has 40 points and they occupy wild card 2. So the Islanders are, 14 points behind them. But it wasn't that long ago where after their last win against Edmonton, I think it was only 8 or so, which is much more manageable. But Boston's played and they've done well. So, but yeah, it's going to be a daunting task. But if this is where they got to take an opportunity here. I mean, they got to go on a stretch here and rattle off a lot of wins in a row. And it's a shame that this pause happened with not going to play those games in Canada, because I think they really were starting to play a lot better. And unfortunately, once again, they got bad luck there with Canada's silly rules. But it'll be interesting to see them play again tomorrow. I know New Jersey had some COVID issues, but I believe from all accounts from hearing that game is going to be played. And actually, New Jersey only has like one goalie right now, John Gillies, because Mackenzie Blackwood was added to COVID protocol. Bernier's out for the year, so they're going to have some goaltending issues. So the Islanders, it's a game if they play it, they really have to win. But I'm just looking forward to seeing them get back on the ice here, because it's been brutal.
Oh, as Phil can tell you, you got a guy like John Gillies, you said, is going to be making a start. Basically, those are the guys that beat the Rangers all the time. So take them seriously. That's what the Islanders need to do. Phil, what are your thoughts on just the Islanders and just their uphill battle this year?
Looking at the standings right now, like Anthony said, Boston has 40 points. They've played 32 games. The Islanders have only played 28, and they have 26 points. So 14 points behind, 4 games in hand. If you win those 4 games in hand, I mean, that's 8 points right there. So you're only 6 points behind. That's manageable when you consider everything. The only problem is they have to pass 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams to get into a wild card spot, 5 teams, including Boston. And Boston doesn't seem like they're going anywhere. They're actually playing better hockey now. They've finally passed Detroit, and they've got a 3-point gap on Detroit with 5 games in hand. So it's not like Boston's along with the rest of the NHL and they've played, 35 plus games or something like that. They're playing well, and they're finally starting to hit their stride. Now they just got Tuukka Rask back. And I know it's going to take some time for Tuukka Rask to get back to where he was. But, I mean, if he can get back there, that's a big shot in the arm for them. And knowing the Bruins, they're probably going to go and make a move at the deadline. Whether it's a center, whether it's Tomas Hertl, something like that. This team seems like they're desperate to try to keep their cup window alive. So it's going to be tough for the Islanders to catch them. Boston could also trade Swayman for assets. That's another thing that they could do to help them out elsewhere. But I don't know if the Islanders can. I think that they will make a push and they will get close. I don't trust Philadelphia at all. I don't think
there's going to be 6 points again from Philadelphia over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. So Philadelphia, I don't trust them. Columbus, I think they'll eventually drop off. Detroit is a young and inexperienced team, and I think eventually they're going to start to fall down a little more. And New Jersey is just, I don't even know how New Jersey is the way that they are. Where they're at. I can't believe that New Jersey's not a cellar dweller right now with Blackwood out and some of the other injuries they've endured with Jack Hughes. So I got to give Jersey some credit. But the Islanders are primed to make a run. I just think ultimately, I think they might come up a little short.
Well, it'll surprise everybody, but we're going to save it for the sports betting segment. I did place a bet on the New York Islanders. More on that later when we talk about sports betting in New York. So, guys, what do you think about the New York Islanders? Is this going to be the dogs are going off. Guys, what do you think? Is this the week that the Islanders are going to start to salvage their season? And, I mean, I'm just thinking about that Western Canadian road trip. There was no good time for the Islanders to do it. I think they're going to make them do it when they go out to the West Coast anyway.
I think I think if you're the Islanders, you have to have the mindset of, they were for a while 6-7 games under 500. Now they're 10-12 and something. So only two. You win 2 more games, and you're back at 500. I think that's the mentality they have to have. Is all right. Just get back to 12. Where you're 12-12, you're 500, and then from there, in their mind, start with a clean slate and then go from there. But I think that's the benchmark. They got to get back to 500 and then say to themselves, okay, let's pretend we're at 0 now and let's start playing.
Anthony, actually, one more question for you. Let's say they closed it within, and the magic number for me is 6 points.
Mm-hmm.
They closed it within 6 points, maybe a game in hand. Trade deadline's coming up in 2 months. Do they add? Or should they add? I mean,
listen, I said it before. I think even if they don't make the playoffs this year, I think they know what they have in that locker room, and that they could still come. They can come back next year, and be a really good team again. So, I think Lou Lamoriello will. I know with everything going on we had earlier, I forgot to mention it, but Scott Bernstein said with John Klingberg has been linked to the Bruins and the Islanders, and it's no secret the Islanders need defense help. And if they feel that they can re-sign him to an extension, similar how they did Pajot, and be part of the solution going forward, even though they might not make it this year, I think it's something that Lamoriello will consider. So, as long as they're in shouting distance, I think he's going to make a play, I should say, to improve the team. But I just don't think he's going to want to mortgage the future to do it.
All right. Well, what do you think? Are they going to salvage this season? Should they add at the trade deadline? Throw it down in the comments below. Guys, we're mowing through because fortunately there's been no news to report really for either team. I thought the Rangers were strong Saturday night. 14 shots they allowed to Anaheim. But other than that, like that LA game, gee, did that take the energy out? Ugh, that LA game. So, all right, we're going to move on. We're going to go to the bar talk right now.
I'm going to take a shot on this one.
I'm going to say beer. I'm buying everybody around on this. Oh, my God.
And welcome back, everybody, to Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk segment, where we gauge our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. Are you so confident you're buying everybody around? Are you just, not really that confident at all? You just want a shot? Or... so you'll just take a beer. So we're going to start again with the New York Rangers, and a guy whose name has been all over the news recently. Lawson Crouse would be a fit for the New York Rangers, Mr. John Volkowski.
Two things I've always said about this team with this trade deadline were that if they were going to go make an acquisition, it was going to be either a pure rental who's gone at the end of the year, or a young cost control player that doesn't have a high AAV. And Lawson Crouse fits the latter. Not only that, but with the way that this team has went for size, grit, and toughness and skill, he just fits every single box that I think this team needs to check off. So I'm going to buy a round on this.
Anthony.
I'm going to go I'll go with a round. In 1920 he had 15 goals, which is pretty good for a 11th overall pick, 2015. Last year he had a bad year, but this year he's got 9 goals in 32 games on a bad team. He's got size, he's got a decent amount of speed. I think he can be an effective third line player, which is, I think, something where the Rangers can improve on. I think as long as the price is right, I would say it's definitely around for me. What the trade could look like, I don't know if maybe Kravtsov could be involved in that, or what else the Rangers could offer. But I think if he's available, it's worth a shot for the Rangers to take.
Make it a clean sweep, because I'm going to buy everybody around on this one. This was the guy when we had our group chats at the close of the season last year. I went on Cap Friendly and made a suggestion that the Rangers should deal for Lawson Crouse with the rights to Pavel Buchnevich. And there's a lot of guys that mocked me for that. Well, They did it with Sammy Blay instead, so it's a little bit different. All right, going back to this, the next one. The New York Islanders will close to within 6 points of a playoff spot. Anthony.
Well, certainly not around, and it could very well be a shot. But I mean, listen, like you just said, they have a stretch of games at home here. They're relatively healthy now, minus Polak. His return is on the horizon. I think. He's skating on his own. He should hopefully be joining the rest of the team, maybe in another week or so. And they're playing teams that really aren't necessarily tough teams coming up. And like I mentioned, they're at home. So I'll go beer, more on the optimistic side, but it's good. It's going to be tough, but like I said, it's not impossible given the circumstances they have here at home. And they were playing well before this extended break, but we'll see. It'll be tough, but I guess I'll try to remain optimistic and say beer.
Phil.
I'm going to say beer. I think they make a run. I think that Barry will rally the troops, and I think with the amount of home games that they're going to have towards the end of this season, it only helps them. They're getting everybody back too, like you said. You're going to get Pollock back. I still worry about their defense. I think that they are better than a lot of the teams in the bottom half of the East, and I think that's going to help too. Like I said, I don't trust Philly. I don't think they're good. But yeah, I'm going to say beer because I think they're going to get close. I don't know if it's 6 points close, but they're going to get close.
I think there's a run in them. I'm only going to go shot because the Bruins are going to keep playing right now. And it's going to be towards the end where I think they might close to within 8, maybe even 6. Because the Islanders just gotta win one game, then win another one. Then it's called a winning streak, is the old line from Major League goes. So we'll see if they can do it. If the Bruins take off, though. But we're gonna talk about the Bruins in a second, everybody. So Evgeny Malkin's return will propel Pittsburgh to first in the Metro. Anthony, let me start with you on that one again.
He had a good debut last night. 3 points, and he definitely helps. He definitely helps that team. He's older now, but I know it's a very small sample size. But one game coming off an injury like he did, he looked really good. So that's good for the Penguins. I think they can challenge for the division. I still think that if a gun to my head, I would say Washington still. But my issue with Malkin is, and I've seen it firsthand because the Islanders played them twice in the playoffs in the last 3 years, but he never scared me once in any of their playoff series the Islanders played against him. And when they played hard on him and got in his head, he took penalties and disappeared at times. So while I think he's going to help them in the regular season, I honestly, as good as he is and as good of a career he had, I don't think he's going to be able to push the team over the top to where they win the cup or anything again. But if he keeps playing like he did last night, I think that will definitely help their chances with trying to win the division.
Oh, so beer on that, right?
Yeah.
All right. Phil?
I'm going to say beer because I don't know if they get past Carolina. Carolina just seems to be firing on all cylinders. Anderson seems to be playing well for them. Tony DeAngelo seems to be putting up points for them. I mean, their offense is so good up and down. They're just a well-balanced team. So I don't know. But I can tell you right now, Evgeny Malkin will definitely help. The other thing with this is that sometimes when Malkin gets back, the team around him, I should say, tends to kind of not play as well. I've seen times where Crosby's out and Malkin steps up and takes over and vice versa. And then when the other comes back, it seems like they become over-reliant on the two of them instead of playing like the team that they were playing like beforehand. So I'm gonna say beer.
This was actually my topic, and I'm gonna criticize my own topic, saying that, or my wording, saying that Malkin's return will propel Pittsburgh to the top of the Metro. I'm gonna take a shot and say they're winning the division anyway, guys. It doesn't matter if Malkin's there or not, because that team is playing really, really well. And Evan Rodriguez is. Whoa! Hit the wrong button.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what was that?
That still got the tombstone Chris
Yeah, I was
Drury
gonna
on
say,
there.
how did that come up?
In typical Mark fashion, you also spelled Yevgeny wrong. It's an I, not a Y.
Just noticed that.
Fuck me.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to correct that for the editing. So
Oh my god.
let me at least on. It's with an I and not a Y.
Yeah.
Usually get that all the time. Let me just get that right there. Awesome.
Good job.
All right. That'll be a nice little change when I get that on there. All right. Claude Giroux will be a difference maker for a team at the trade deadline. I'm gonna start the clock and then say I'm gonna take a shot on this, guys. I don't know if you know what. No, I'm gonna upgrade. I'm gonna say a beer. I just don't know what team he's going to that he's really gonna help, and he can win faceoffs. He's not really a center anymore, though. So he's sound defensively. I just don't know if he's going to be the difference maker a lot of people think he might be. Phil.
I'm going to say shot because I don't think he gets dealt. I think Philadelphia is going to compete. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're ultimately just going to fall short. And I don't think they're going to have that figured out by the time the deadline comes. So I'm going to say shot here. I don't think he's getting moved.
All right.
Mark, I got to go round. I kind of got to call you out again because Claude Giroux has 29 points in 31 games. So why you say he's not going to help? He's still an effective player. And I know Phil shots for different reasons because he thinks he's not going to get moved. But if he's going to get moved, that's still pretty good production. And, he's a guy that's versatile. He can help you out at center, all probably the wing. And he's also, kind of feisty. He's not afraid to, get some blood spewed from him and, go to the hard areas. And
Remember
he's
to knock
skilled.
Crosby on his ass and then scored right afterwards?
Yep.
I just,
And
what? I think it is with him. And this is where, you're not wrong on this. Because I think it's just, he just kind of never wowed me after 2014. 2014, I thought Claude Giroux was still an elite player. Even after the 2018 season, I wasn't impressed with him. And he had 100 points.
Year. That was a 100-point year from him. He had MVP consideration.
Yep.
I know. I think eye test. I don't love Claude Giroux. That's all. I think he's a good player. Tell me the team he goes to. If they trade him.
It could be anybody. I mean, if Flyers move him.
that's the problem. All right, so the problem with this whole thing here is that you're saying difference maker, but then you're not saying, then you're kind of being vague about it and then saying, oh, well, tell me the team he goes to. He's going to be a difference maker anywhere he goes.
Yep.
It's just, can he elevate that team by himself? What I mean, I don't know.
I guess that's it. I mean, maybe like the piece. This isn't one of my best moments, so it's an understatement for my day. But
I mean, could you imagine, for instance, like Minnesota is a good team. Can you imagine if he went to Minnesota and gave them some help?
Wow,
Minnesota would
down the middle.
Minnesota would be a great place for him.
Or Avalanche too. Could you imagine if he went to the Avalanche and moved Nazem Kadri down to the third line?
Well, because there's the saying I've been saying for, like, take for instance the Jacob Chikrin rumors is, what are you getting player X for? Because if, let's say, the Rangers get Claude Giroux, and what are they're not putting him on power play 1. They're not.
You are putting him on power play 1 if you go get Claude Giroux.
Then who are they taking off?
You could move Ryan Strome off of that, no problem.
I never see them moving Ryan Strome off of there.
I mean,
I don't.
I hate to say it, but Claude Giroux would be fantastic for the Rangers. I just don't see. He's been their franchise player. Let's face it.
Philadelphia, the last
time ain't traded him to the Rangers.
The deal was Eric Lindros,
and I don't think Philly's shipping Claude Giroux off to the New York Rangers.
That's why when it comes to those rumors, I I don't even pay attention to that. There are other rumors that we'll talk later when we do our Q&A and stuff. Hey, Phil, do you remember when the Rangers had Shesterkin come up for the first time, and it was him, Georgiev, and
Yes.
Lundqvist? Yeah, that worked out really well, didn't it?
Nope.
So Tuukka Rask and the Boston three-goalie
gonna-
situation will work.
I'm going to stop you right here. Jeremy Swayman was sent down to Providence earlier, so it's
Oh, okay. I thought they were going to
Swayman's
taxi
getting
squad him.
I hate to burst your bubble here, but yeah, it's Marcus just keeps taking the hits here.
All right.
Swayman was sent down to Providence, so just Olmark and Rask.
Ow.
All right. So just to make sure, the LA Kings are still a franchise in the NHL, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
The LA Kings are a playoff team. Anthony, go.
Well, we're just real quick. I will say on your prior topic, to at least not discredit you totally. I don't. Rask is 36, 37 years old, and he's coming off surgery, and you're going to send down a somewhat promising goalie in Swayman just to make room for him. I don't know if that was. I know Swayman didn't have to clear waivers. So that was probably the root behind it, but I don't know if that was the best decision. Anyway, for the Kings are a playoff team. Surprisingly enough, I think they are. I talked a lot of trash. I think, as we all did, about the Pacific Division going into the season. Thought it was going to be pretty bad. No one expected the Ducks to be as good as they are. The Kings, the Sharks were supposed to be pretty dreadful. They're not. But yeah, I think the Kings, surprisingly enough, Cal Peterson is a pretty formidable goalie for them. Because John Quick's pretty much on the backside of his career, but they're playing well. Kopitar has been Kopitar. Philip Deneau has proved to be a great signing for them. I don't love their defense. I think that's something they might have to address, which we'll get into trade rumors earlier, but there was an article in Athletic today with front runners for Jacob Chikrin, and LA was in that category. So, but I think they're a playoff team.
All right, so that's around. Phil.
I am going to say beer. I think that Calgary will eventually get back up. I think Edmonton is going to make some improvements. They're going to have to. Especially with the way things have gone and McDavid and Draisaitl. I think they're going to ramp their play back up. I think Edmonton's going to make a couple of moves. And I think LA is just young and inexperienced overall. I know that they have some experienced players on there, but I don't know if I trust Peterson more than I trust Koskinen or Smith, but that's not saying a whole lot, but definitely not more than I trust Jacob Markstrom. Tell you that right now. So, I'm going to say beer here just because I think they'll get close, but I think they're going to fall short.
I'm going to go beer. I was going to go by around and make it a definite, but something, I don't know. That West is going to be tough, and who knows if they go into the wild card, if one of those central teams end up creeping up on them. I have no faith in the Edmonton Oilers. I have made that abundantly clear. And then, well, I would say LA with all their youth, they're showing a lot of promise. That rebuild might be close to over.
So, to answer this question, I would say maybe Mark can do it, but the way he's going, he might accidentally put up the NFL standings for the playoffs instead of the NFL standings. So I don't know if that's best to ask, but
I got it right here.
Just to give you some context, my right nut. LA is only 4 points behind Anaheim for second in the Pacific, but yet on the other hand, they're tied with San Jose at 41 points. And Calgary has 40, so it's close there.
And there you go, right there. LA's with 41, and everything Anthony just said, 100%. And the other thing is, if you look at them in the wild card, right now they're in. But again, you look at those central teams. Remember a week ago when Minnesota was top of the division?
Yeah. They're down now. So they're still
there's still some good teams in there, so I wouldn't be surprised if it really just doesn't happen for them. But then again, you know what? If they bring out more games like they did against the Rangers, they took the enthusiasm out of that game. So we'll say it like that. All right. Evander Kane will help the Oilers make the playoffs. Speaking of people that I have zero faith in, I'm going to say shot. If it's going to be anybody that's going to help them make the playoffs, it's McDavid and maybe a goaltender. But I don't think they're making the playoffs anyway. So there we go. Phil.
This is a shot for me, just because I don't think it's going to be Evander Kane. I think they're going to have to make other acquisitions. I think they're going to have to bring in a defenseman. I think they're going to have to bring in another forward. So I'm going to say shot here.
Anthony.
Mark, I really hate to keep doing this to you, but I know there's been a lot of smoke here, but Evander Kane didn't officially sign with the Oilers yet, so this statement here is making it like a foregone conclusion that he's already on the Oilers. I mean,
yeah, a lot of people are saying that.
Yeah,
it's being tweeted around. NHL Network said they're going to sign Kane.
Problem. The Oilers, Tampa Bay, and there was another team that I forget.
Yeah. So in that case, we could still adjust it to what it was supposed to be. Yeah. Evander Kane will sign with a contender.
I like that better.
All right. So we will adjust that one.
I think I mean look at the season he had last year. He was pretty effective for the Sharks. So listen, despite all the drama that's kind of surrounded him, he at the root of it, let's not forget that he is a good hockey player. I mentioned it in our group chat. This guy, he's not like he's not a felon. He didn't do something horrible like murder someone or, beat the hell out of his wife like Slava Voinov. He might not be the best teammate. While, other players were following rules, COVID protocols. He wasn't. I get all that. It comes across as selfish, and there's a whole host of issues with that. I understand that. But, I mean, again, I don't think that's a reason to blackball him or for a team to, walk away. Because again, at the root of it, he is a good hockey player. So I absolutely think he's going to sign with a contender. The Oilers aren't a contender who are a front runner for him, but he's going to sign with somebody. We heard the insiders say he met with teams and there's been a lot of interest. So yeah, I think it's around. I think he is going to sign with I don't know if a contender, because again, I don't think the Oilers are, but I think he is going to sign with a team that's likely headed for the playoffs. And as long as, he can assimilate, keep his head on straight in the locker room, don't make any noise and stir the pot, I think that he can really help a team.
You're Big Lou. Do you sign him?
Well, that's different. I mean, Big Lou is different than other general managers. I mean, Big Lou probably wouldn't sign a player if he, kicked the dog. So he's a very no nonsense moral guy. So no, I don't think Big Lou would entertain it. But if you were Big Lou,
would you sign him for your team?
If I was Big Lou, yeah. I mean,
you'd also be in the Hall of Fame.
Yes. I mean, me personally, yes, I would sign him. But again, an old school guy like Lou isn't going to. But there are going to be general managers that certainly are.
Phil, would you sign Evander Kane for the Rangers?
No. And I can give you a couple of reasons. One, they purged all the locker room problems out when they got rid of Tony DeAngelo, and they brought this locker room together. Two, they brought in Ryan Reeves, and Ryan Reeves and Evander Kane do not like each other. Do you know who's loved in that locker room? Ryan Reeves is. Mm-hmm. They're not going to do something to unbalance the chemistry in that locker room.
I think Evander Kane over his career has burned a lot of bridges, and I think he's also shot the architect of a lot of those bridges. So maybe you're right about that, Anthony. Maybe the casual fan and even some pundits, which we are now, just want to scapegoat the guy and say he's a bad locker room teammate. But he kind of there's so much smoke that there's fire on all this. So And that's the only thing I can even say about him like that. And you know what? That's why I got no faith. I got no faith that he's going to go to another team. He'll play great because he's a good hockey player. If that guy, if he focused on hockey and tried to be a good teammate, I think everything would be fine. There's a reason why there was reports about San Jose Sharks that wanted to ask for a trade because this guy was coming in. So it's
let's just play devil's advocate here for a second. So before, I don't know, this comment, my not actually said that, he violated COVID protocols, putting families at risk and whatnot. But let's just face it, there have been plenty of players who spoke out against the NHL's COVID protocols. I didn't send it to you guys today because I forgot, but Ivan Provorov had a quote about how frustrated he is with not being able to play and, because he's barely sick and whatnot. There are probably other players in the league that have done stuff that they shouldn't have been, whether outside the rink, hanging out with people who, aren't vaccinated or doing whatever. So it's Evander Kane, obviously, with his violation of protocols, he just doesn't hide it and just does it. There are a lot of players who probably agree with him and do the same things. They just don't get caught. So I don't think as many players as you think will think he's a jerk. I think there will be a lot of guys who will have no issues with what he did. They'll just keep their mouth shut.
I just think you're putting radioactive material in there, and somebody's gonna get burned at some point.
Yeah, somebody's gonna sign him. I would personally stay away from him.
Yeah, and then of course, then there's also the gambling rumors and everything else. So just. It's the reason why sometimes with Ranger fans they don't want to hear it when I say it was good that the Rangers got rid of Sean Avery in 2011. So and his other fiasco is like throwing his skates into the river when he quoted saying that. All right, but guys, what do you think? Did I get any of my headlines right, or is Claude Giroux going to be a difference maker somewhere else? The LA Kings, are they a playoff team? Would you sign Evander Kane for your team? Lawson Krause, good for the Rangers? Perfect fit? Could be. Put it all down in the comments below. So, New York State had sports betting. First time. Have you guys placed any bets this week? All right.
No.
Which, good for you. I did place a bet last night, though. I bet $5. Oh, I did too. I did one $5 bet for the over in Vegas versus Toronto. That one was easy. But we're going to do some of our sports gambling odds, and also we're going to make up a couple just off the cuff. But first off, we're going to do some serious ones. According to Money Puck, the Rangers are 29% to win a playoff series. Phil, is that money well spent, or did you make that bet or no?
Depending on who they draw, I could see them winning a playoff series. So, yeah, I could. I mean, depending on what your odds are, I could see making that bet.
Okay,
you probably get a nice return on your investment.
Anthony.
Yeah, similar to Phil. I think, like for instance, if they finish in the 2-3 matchup and have to play Washington or Carolina, both those teams have a little more experience of late in the playoffs, so I don't know if I would take the Rangers, but if they matched up against like Boston or if Detroit got in, I would take the Rangers.
All right, you know what? I bet on my team no matter win or lose because I'm an idiot. I just like to throw money away, especially for all those years of being a Dolphins fan. Here's the value bet that I made, Anthony, and this is the one that I alluded to before. The New York Islanders are 0.3% to win the Stanley Cup, according to the Money Puck. And on DraftKings, they're getting a plus 10,000. So if you bet $100, you're going to win 10,000. Would you make that bet?
I mean, no. I mean, I not 100. I would put, I'd put 20 on it because $20, it is what it is. I lose it, so be it, and the payoff would be worth it. $100, I wouldn't. No.
All right, Phil.
No.
Yeah, I only threw $2 on, guys, by the way. But
no, I would not make that bet at all.
that is a good value bet. And
it's a good value, yeah, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's probably not going to happen. The Islanders have so many holes right now that they have to fix.
well, we'll see about that. That's again, those odds are pretty good. The Edmonton Oilers to make the playoffs, guys, 35.2%. And again, that's throwing money away to me. I don't even think that's a good value bet. I don't think the Edmonton Oilers are making the playoffs. I really don't. It's one of those things where you keep on saying they got McDavid, they got Draisaitl, yeah, but their defense and their goaltending is awful, and they're only getting worse. We were just talking about the standings. We just showed it before. Bilk, would you make a bet that the Oilers are going to make it? No, of course not.
No.
Phil, sorry, Anthony.
Yeah, because I think I think they have enough power driven by Draisaitl, McDavid to make it through the regular season because they're that good. They can compensate for the rest of not having that much depth or their somewhat shaky goaltending. But I just don't think they'll go far if they do make it. But I think ultimately they will make the playoffs. And if they don't, God help them because there's going to be a lot of changes. But I would take them to make the playoffs.
Anthony, I'm coming right back to you with this one, and you're gonna just love this topic. The Toronto Maple Leafs are 54% to win a playoff series. Is that a good bet to you?
I mean, they've struggled. They haven't got out of the first round in quite some time.
2003.
Yeah.
Sorry, 2004.
You know what? And I still don't like their chances of winning a playoff round. I think there's still too many holes in that team so no, I wouldn't take that bet.
Phil?
I would actually. I think this is a better defensive team than they have been in previous years. For whatever reason, Jack Campbell looks like he might be legitimate. It looks like they figured out two of the things. I wouldn't say fully figured out, but they figured out goaltending to a point, and their team defense overall is just that much better. I mean, if you look at goals allowed in the league, I mean, Toronto is in their division. They're the second best, only behind Boston, and they're only two behind Boston when Boston's played 2 games less. And the only team that's allowed less goals that has actually played 30 or more games other than Boston is Carolina. And Carolina's played 33, and they've only allowed 73 goals.
That's such a disgustingly low number. I can't even fathom how they're allowing a 73.
Is ridiculous. Well, actually, I forgot about Calgary. It's allowed 83, but they, again, only 33 games played. So, Toronto is one of the better defensive teams in the league right now. They are. It seems like they're playing well too, but I think they need a little more depth scoring, because that's one of the holes that Anthony was definitely referring to, and I would try to add another legitimate minutes eater on defense. So. But I do think they can win depending on who they draw.
All right. And you know what? I'm actually going to also say I wouldn't take that bet. Another reason why, because that's just the wrong division. It's the absolutely wrong division. They should have beat the Canadians last year. But instead, what's going to happen is now they're going to get either Florida or Tampa Bay in the first round. Good luck, guys. That's the best way to just put that one in. If you had to make some odds, what would it be?
I know what Anthony's first one is going to be.
I don't even know what it is.
I'm surprised. Oh, really? Because I thought your first one would be the odds of Alexander Ovechkin winning the Art Ross and the Rocket Richard.
That's a good one.
I would. What would you put for the odds for that?
The Rocket Richard and the
Art Rose. So yeah.
I don't really know sports betting like that and stuff like that, so you guys would know the terminology and how they work better than I would. But
See, that's the thing.
I would do plus 100 on that one.
Plus 100. All right.
Yeah.
So I actually think that means even money. So you mean like 100 to 1?
What?
Were you saying? Wait, did you really mean like 100 to 1?
No, not 100 to 1.
Okay.
Plus 100. You know, like
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 plus 100.
minus.
So yeah. So even money on that. We talked about this last week that nobody's won the Art Ross and the Rocket in the same year. And that the last time somebody led the league in goals and points was Lemieux in 96.
96.
I think it was. Yeah. So it's a long shot. And I think actually you're underselling that. I would put that more like plus 500 or something like that, because it's just so rare. It's so rare. And we'll see about that one. So, all right. What are the odds that Philk will actually get to shoot Patrick Nemeth into the sun? I don't know.
You guys gonna tease me with that one, because all I want to do is do that, and I'm never going to be able to actually do it. So,
well, which one do you want off the team for faster, Tenorti or Hayek or Nemeth?
Yes.
I'm just going to do a quick check in the comments, see if anybody's got some of their other ones. We'll just move on to some good talk.
I like to do some parlays. I think that's
all right.
That's
what do you got?
The way to go. I have a parlay tonight where if Jared McCann, Jason Robertson, Nick Suzuki, and Patrice Bergeron score, I'd win $3,500, and I bet 50.
All right. Yeah, that's a pretty good parlay. I end up usually contradicting myself in parlays. Like I'll like bet on one team and then bet on the over, and then realize, wait a minute, it's not going to work.
Okay, so according to John Bubb here, OV to win the Hart is at plus 300 on points bet. So
okay, so yeah, and then to win both the Hart and the
a lot of
all
these,
three for a bag of pucks. I like that.
Yeah,
a lot of these sites
absolutely take all three for.
A lot of these betting sites, because it just started, have free. They give you free money to start with, like Caesars Sportsbook, FanDuel. If you sign up,
MGM
they're giving out $100, $200, $300 worth of money to make your first couple of bets with. So it's even if you're not going to do it for an extended period of time, you might it's why not? I mean, you have free money to bet with, and if you win, you get to keep it. So
yeah. And I don't think you have to jump through as many hoops. Like DraftKings, you had to, they would double your money, but then I think you had to play how many games or how many weeks. Usually casinos let you have it.
They all have different promotions, but you got to check it out.
Yeah. So
they don't, apparently they don't have the odds for the Richard.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, John, I look at your name. The first thing I see is Wolverine.
Yeah. Well, I think Bub. Hey, Bub. Yeah. I love Wolverine. So my favorite Marvel character.
All right. This is amazing. We shot through this show pretty quickly. Well, it happens when one of the topics got shot down because of the news today that I didn't have in place until yesterday. But yeah, we're already ready for some trade rumors. So let's get to there. And you got, so Anthony, what is the latest on Evander Kane?
Evander Kane is just that his agent said that he was meeting with multiple teams, and that that there was possible that a signing could happen this weekend. The Oilers, his name has come up. Joe Smith, the beat reporter for the Lightning from the Athletic, said that the Lightning were in it, but he said as of Tuesday they had dropped out. So haven't many, like Kevin Weeks, Pierre LeBrun, they've mentioned it, but no specific team other than the Oilers that I've heard. So they might be the front runner, but I guess we'll have to find out, exactly what comes of it.
Where do you think he might end up, Phil?
Kane? Probably the Oilers. There was word that the Florida Panthers were also interested in him.
Yeah.
I could see one of the two Florida teams. It seems like they just don't kind of care about PR perception. Teams that really don't care, that are contenders, that don't care about the PR nightmare that'll happen when they bring him on, would be the teams that I would look at. So again, the Oilers, and they're desperate to satisfy McDavid and get McDavid. So some help. So I would definitely say that I think he ends up there, but the two Florida teams wouldn't surprise me either.
Yeah, Elliot Freeman 4 hours ago tweeted interesting that he said the hearing NHL has notified teams it is investigating process of Evander Kane crossing border from U.S. into Canada on December 29th. Kane tested positive for COVID on December 21st and flew to Vancouver on the 29th. In termination notice from San Jose, it was alleged he did not have proper medical clearance. NHL is now doing full investigation. This will likely prevent a Kane signing in the short term as teams await results. So maybe that delays his signing with the team. But that's an interesting wrinkle to his, signing a contract.
Here's one, by the way, that we got through this week. It wasn't just covered, although Julian's got it for Forever Blue Shirts, threw it on there. But Lego Rocks had a video about Tyler Chifoli being a target for the Rangers. Can you really see that happening, Phil, for Tyler Chifoli?
I don't think so, just because, like I said, he's got term left on his deal. I believe it's a year left after this year, maybe, or
I think it's a year left at about 5.
No, he's got 2 years left after this at $4.25 million. He doesn't have any trade clauses or anything like that, so that's not really anything to worry about. But again, they need a guy who can drive play both as a shooter and a playmaker. I don't think Tyler Toffoli checks the box for a playmaker. I also don't think that they're going to be a player in him because of the fact that they're not going to go after a player that has term unless they could send back a contract the other way that could help them out, like Nemeth or something like that. So I think it's either going to be a rental or it's going to be a young cost-controlled player, not a player like Toffoli. He just doesn't make any sense for me.
Anthony.
Yeah, I mean, Montreal signed into that 4-year contract two years ago. I know they're struggling this year, but like the Islanders, they probably believe that they could compete again next year. So I don't know if they would trade Tyler Toffoli right now. Hurdle, again, San Jose is battling for a playoff spot. I
don't think they're moving him.
Yeah, I don't think they're moving him either.
I always go back to Chychrun and say the asking price is going to be way too much for the Rangers. And
here's one that I've mentioned before, and Jack hits this on the head of the nail. Giordano makes perfect sense for the Rangers. He's a rental. He'll cost cheaper than some of the other options that might be available. He's a veteran. He could play power play and penalty kill. So he checks all of the boxes for me.
As for Jacob Chychrun, Harman Dial, athletic reporter, Canucks, does some national work for The Athletic, had an article today with teams, the top contenders for Chychrun and some dark horses. So his top contenders, the teams, I guess, mainly in the running for Chychrun, were the Blues, the Kings, as I mentioned before, the Ducks, and then dark horses. He has Florida, Carolina, Boston, and lastly the Islanders. But I think that LA, like I mentioned earlier, they could use Chychrun a lot. imagine Anaheim getting Chikrin with how much young talent they have on that team. He would be a big addition.
I was watching one of Top Shelf's videos, and Top Shelf had mentioned an article that someone had suggested that LA was a perfect fit for Chikrin just because they have all the prospects, and Chikrin, they could fit Chikrin into the cap and make it work. So yeah.
So according to him, the Blues, the Ducks, and the Kings are the top contenders for Jacob Chikrin. So we'll see as that develops. But I mean, what team wouldn't want a young defender like him? I know he's
definitely a defender who's cost controlled, who's coming off an 18-goal season, and they Rich, it's water, by the way, just water right now. But they desperately need to upgrade their defense a little bit more because Doughty's played well this year, but still a shade of what he used to be. They could always use a power play quarterback or a trigger man.
Here's the thing. Jacob Chikrin has had one really good year. And in 3 years' time, you're going to have to give him what Jacob Trouba is making right about now.
Mm-hmm.
So if he doesn't continue to stay on that path, then that looks really bad, and that's a tough trade to make for any team. So I know that they were looking for what Jack Eichel just got from for Buffalo. I mean that return, the Krebs Tuck first rounder, another piece kind of return, but that's too much for Jacob Chikrin. And unless the market comes down for him, I don't know if he gets dealt until the offseason. Because there's just a lot of teams that might not want to pay that price for a guy who's really, as of right now, a one-year wonder.
Yeah, going back, Anthony first.
And he's to add to what Phil said. Arizona doesn't have to trade him. There were no rush to trade him. He's under contract. He's probably their best player. So there's no reason for them to trade him. So they're not going to move him, unless they get a really good deal. So there's no pressure on them to relent.
And we've had this conversation for the last couple of podcasts, but I've had Ranger fans ask me, why don't the Rangers go after Jacob Chikrin? And my answer is simple. What are you doing with him?
Yeah.
You're gonna deal, let's say, for instance, you deal a first-round pick. Let's just say, for the record, Lafreniere or Kakko was in there. They wouldn't be because you don't deal those guys. But again, let's just say for the argument's sake, and you pay this huge price to get him, and Adam Fox is still your number one quarterback. I don't see anybody moving off the power play one, as we were just talking about with Claude Giroux.
They've used 4 forwards and 1 defenseman on power play one for a very, very long time now. And most teams across the NHL do the same thing, unless you have 2 great puck-moving defensemen. Even San Jose, I mean, the games that I've seen them watch, I've seen Burns and Carlson on 2 different power play units. So, and they're 2 of the very best at that in the NHL.
And they're $11 million a piece.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You know what? You bring in Jacob Chikrin, and you bring him in, and I get it. But where is he going to get the minutes from to not only be worth what he's eventually going to get on his next deal, but put up the points even somewhere close to what he was putting up last year? Because he isn't kicking Adam Fox off the power play, because Adam Fox is one of the best power play quarterbacks in the league. That ain't happening. Good luck with that. But not only that, where is he going to get the even strength points from? And he's not like a big even strength points producer in the NHL. Like, this is not like Tyson Barrie. Tyson Barrie actually produces well at even strength.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Islanders could go get him, but why?
I don't think the Islanders have the pieces. And if they do have the pieces, it guts their entire system. Is that worth it right now? It might be. It might be. That's the question that Lou Lamoriello is going to have to answer then to himself.
You talking about Jacob Chikrin?
Yeah, Jacob Chikrin for you guys.
Yeah, Staple had said on a podcast he did, I don't know what it was, a week ago when he was talking about Chikrin. He was assuming that Arizona would want Beauvillier, a first, and and some combination of Robin Salo, and Aturatu. And I'm not. I mean, listen, the Islanders prospect pool is pretty thin, so I'm not about to trade Ratu for Chicker as much as he would help. You know what? I was actually talking to friend Ryan Dermy, which Phil knows him, but
Yeah.
we were talking about Chicker, and this is a big if, but because my thing is with trading Beauvillier, you're taking a pretty good forward out of the mix. If because Kiefer Bellows has shown flashes lately that he's finally starting to play good. If Kiefer Bellows could finally become the player that they thought he would be, that would help. That would help the Islanders of trading Beauvillier because now Bellows slides in for Beauvillier. But again, that's under the premise that Bellows is finally going to become the player that they thought he was. Obviously, with that still unknown, you trade Beauvillier, and now you have now you just took a 20-goal scorer with still some upside, young, skates really well, out of your lineup. That's my issue with trading Anthony Beauvillier in a deal.
And you got Ratu. Yeah. So, but here's the other thing. If you go and you make that trade and it's Beauvillier, you're sacrificing so much offense to upgrade your defense, and you still have a problem on defense. Because now you're going to have a good top four, but you're still missing a number 6 guy. So you still got to go get a 6 guy. I mean, who's your 6 going to be? Chara? You really want Chara as your 6? I don't know.
And Andy Green.
Green. You still got to go get a 6, if you ask me. And then you got to worry about getting someone else to replace the forward production that you just lost. And then who are you dealing to get that?
Well, that's what I was just saying. If Bellows could actually become the player he would be, it would help a lot. But obviously, that's still not the case as of right now.
And not only that, but that's a lot of pressure to put on a kid that's trying to break out and trying to get his feet finally in this league. Yep. I don't think they do that. That's just me.
I don't think they would either.
But to answer one of the questions that was on here just now from I think it was Jack had it.
I saw that. I was just going to highlight that too.
All right. But there are multiple reasons why there's a bidding war that's going to be there for Giordano because he's going to get traded somewhere. He's going to a contender. And the other reason why is I think he's on the books for 6.8 or something like that. And the closer you get to the dead, he's on the books for a lot, right?
Yeah, he's got like a $6 million cap hit, 6 and change, I believe it is. But he's off the books at the end of the year. So 675.
675, thank you. Yeah. But one of the reasons why is because teams don't have to pay as much, and the cap space they get more space. At the trade deadline they get more cap space. So that's one reason why that happens. I think Steven gave us a good nugget right there before, saying that the Rangers informed Brendan Ottman that he's in their plans next year.
Yeah, I've been talking about that with Steven behind the scenes for a while, and I was well aware of this. I didn't share it because I didn't know what was going on, but or I didn't want to say anything. But yeah, Ottman is really something that they want. They want him up. What happened was basically that his agent came in and met with the family and everything like that and talked with them and basically told them that the team wants him to kind of make the team next year. So they want to bring him in. They want him to work on like skating, conditioning, all that other stuff. And the idea is that they want him to make the team next season. They're high on the fact that they don't think he has much left to prove in junior. They just don't want him in the OHL. Steven basically saying it here. They don't want Ottman in the OHL, more specifically, and not in Flint. They don't like what's going on with Flint. They don't like the fact that Flint, part of the reason that he didn't make the team is because, or the World Junior team is because he plays in Flint, and they didn't even go and scout in Flint. They didn't even, the Team Canada didn't even go there. So, but yeah, and this is another thing here too. You burn a year and have him develop at the pro level. I think he could be a bottom six forward if his skating can improve, like big time. I think he could come in and help this team out next season. I would rather see him play bottom 6 minutes in the NHL than play in the OHL. Honestly, if the skating can improve to the point where he can be passable. I don't know about the AHL anymore. I don't like what was going on with Kravtsov. For whatever reason, he doesn't want to play in Hartford. And the fact that Dan Milstein came out and said that he'll play for any other team in the AHL other than Hartford, for me, is a big red flag. So, I want to see what's best for Othman, and I don't know, he can't play there next year because of age requirements, but we'll see.
I mean, it's going to be interesting because if you got all these prospects, it doesn't really matter if you're not developing them. And they really haven't done a good job developing guys for a while. Like, I've driven past Hartford, Bub, but never really been to
Bub. The way you just said it, it just made it like Wolverine.
Yeah, I've driven past Hartford, Bub. But again, well, Rick, I think that's okay. Lots of guys have had skating issues, gone to a skating coach, and been great after that.
See Brian Boyle.
Yeah, see Brian Boyle. See, John Tavares went to a skating coach. So it happens with the number 1 draft pick as well. And then he became an MVP candidate twice, or finalist, I should say. And then, but again, if the Rangers can't develop these prospects at heart, they can't develop everybody in the NHL level. It's just not going to happen. You got to develop some in Hartford. And if the problem is Hartford's coaching staff, then they got to take a hard look at that.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I don't like what happened with Drury berating Kravtsov in front of the team for exercising his KHL clause. The fact that, like I said, Dan Milstein came out and said that they don't want to play for, or he'll play for any other team in the AHL. For me, like I said, giant red flag. That tells me that something happened in Hartford. And there are other things that have happened in Hartford with other players, and I don't know if it's Knobloch. I don't know if it's Drury himself. You know what? It just did too many red flags for me. So you know what? Just get Othman onto the scene and let's see what this kid has. I hope he really can improve everything and can make the team. So.
Irfan Ghaffar, he's the reporter from Vancouver. He just tweeted that Kane was supposed to sign a contract as early as today until that memo from the league was sent out to all the teams, and that stopped that process. So,
wait, what memo?
What would it be with the Oilers?
The tweet that I read before from Elliot Friedman saying that they were investigating his report that if he crossed into Vancouver after having COVID and followed the protocols.
Oh, okay.
So sounds like he should have been signed as early as today, but now the league's putting a stop to that as they investigate what Elliot Friedman reported. So still drama with this guy.
It never ends. And if he was just somebody that they could just sign, insert him in the lineup, and then that's it. That's why I would this guy. I love when guys are saying, does he deserve a second chance? He's had like 9. What more do you need to know? I don't even know where that beep came from. It was from me. I know that. But
I don't know.
Yeah. Wolfpack coming out to Hershey. One of these days we gotta go see a Wolfpack game or a Wolfpack Sound Tigers.
Yeah.
You guys did that for Off the Post back in the day, right?
No, I did it well before that. I saw Sean Avery's only game in Hartford back in 2009. That was against the Manitoba Moose, and Mike Keane, funny enough, played in that game for the Manitoba Moose. I believe he was their captain at the time. So I saw that game, and then I saw a Connecticut Whale, as they were at the time, versus Bridgeport Sound Tigers game during the 2012 lockout. I believe that was with you and Manny, right? And
Yes.
Manny?
Yeah.
So, the Sound Tigers won that game. Chris Kreider was playing in that game, but his ankle was still all messed up at that time. So he really wasn't doing anything.
I think the Avalanche are going to move on from Darcy Kemper.
Too early. I mean,
I
they
don't
just
know.
acquired him. I don't.
Yeah, kind of
I
early.
don't know.
I think he's only good for this season, though. A lot of people keep saying Colorado, they gotta improve their goaltending, and then you get some rumor mill people that are just saying, "Oh, they gotta trade for Carey Price." I'm not sure if they could trade for a Montreal
I don't know how they
goaltender
fit
again.
Carey Price in. Even Montreal would have to retain half on that to make that work.
Yeah, I don't see that.
I don't see that. I don't know. I maybe they do move on from Kemper, but I just who's available? I mean, do they bring back Varlamov? He's older than Kemper, and I don't think he gets the job done. I just don't think that there's anyone out there that really moves the needle at this point,
Yeah.
Maybe Fleury, but that's if Fleury doesn't retire after this season. And I don't know if he's still going to have it next year. He could fall off because usually around 37 years old is when you start to see that drop off in players. Messier, Yzerman, Sundin, various players have all had that drop off from their age 36 to 37 season. Fleury seems like he's still playing well, but Chicago just can't help him out to save their lives, and that's why his numbers look so bad. So
it's actually good news for you guys. You're not washed up yet. I already am. Since I'm the one that's crossed the 37 barrier and then some.
I like Colorado regardless, though. I think they're a really good team. And that goal that Cale Makar scored last night again. I mean, he's just so deceptive with his skating and his edge work. He's really talented offensively.
I would say regardless of position, he's probably a top 3 or 4 skater in this league.
Yeah.
You would have to say McDavid and Barzal are probably 1 and 2. I would say Makar is probably number 3, and then I would say maybe McKinnon is number 4.
Yeah.
You think he's gonna win the Norris this year?
We talked about this.
We did, yes. Yeah. But again, I still maintain that I think they're going to try to hand it to him.
I think so. The guy's scoring. He's scoring like goals like that, and he's just. What does he have now? How many goals is he at? Is he up to?
15, Phil?
I think it's like 16. I'm going to check, but I'm pretty sure it's like 16.
But if he's a turnstile defensively, it's not going to help.
It's 16 goals and 34 points in 29 games. That's ridiculous.
Yes.
By the way, what was the name of the woman that coached
Barbara Williams or Barbara Underhill?
Barbara Williams, that was it. I knew it was a name I thought.
Barbara Underhill was the one that coached Boyle. I think Barbara Williams was the other one from back in the day. But yeah, 34 points in 29 games. That's 96 points pace.
See now, Mark, you just before you just said it's not fair to call him turnstile. He's not a turnstile defensively.
All right, he's not as great.
He's not.
Yeah, he's not a great defender, but if he continues to put up points at that pace and he scores over 90 points, he'd be the first 90-point defender since Ray Bourque in 1994.
I mean,
and that would be for me. That'll probably win him the Norris if he does.
I highly doubt he's going to do it. But if you go on ESPN where they give you like a player's projections, he's projected to score 84 points and 40 goals. Now, clearly, he's not going to score 40 goals. But, I mean, that just goes to show the type of season he's having. And it's You could definitely say he very well might score 30 this year.
And
That's possible.
Last defenseman to score 30 goals was that Mike Green?
Mike Green in 2009. Yeah.
Yeah, he scored a lot of goals that year.
Yeah. The last one to do it before him was Kevin Hatcher in 1993, who was also, funny enough, a Capital at the time. So.
And then I think Capitals back in the day, I want to say they had 3 of them. Like,
what?
I mean, I'm talking 30 years ago. If I can recall, I'm not sure. I have to go double check that. Thought it was Iafredi, Cote, and Hatcher, but I don't know. I'm gonna double check that right now.
30 goal scorers?
Was it 30 or was it 20?
No, Sylvain Cote never scored that many.
Was it Stevens? Was it Stevens then that did it?
No, Stevens never hit 30. He had 20 a couple of times.
All right, then that's what I might be thinking. I'm going to check hockey records right now while I got
20 goal guys. But yeah, Stevens was a 20 goal guy in Washington in 85. He had 21 goals and 65 points. I don't think, and he was only a 20-year-old at that time. I don't think a lot of people remember how good Stevens was offensively before 94 was like his last real big year in offensively. So,
yeah, and then because some people say he pulled like an Yzerman or he just sacrificed offense for winning. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, to a point. I mean, he went from a 78-point defender in 94 to never scoring above 41 points ever again after that. I mean, he had 22 points, 48 games in the lockout year in 95, but he was never the same offensively after that. I mean, part of it was that he got old, but Jacques Lemaire coming in also changed his game, changed everything about his game. But think about it. If you look at it, he ended with 196 goals and 908 points in 1,635 career games. That's pretty good for a guy who, for the first I mean, from his before 94, I'm trying to highlight everything out here. It's not really doing it. Guess it only does it on my phone. I don't know. But, I mean, this is a guy who had multiple 60 and 70-point seasons in the NHL as a defenseman in Washington. And even in Jersey, he had a 78-point season, like I said, in 94. And he was the Norris runner-up in 94. That was the closest he got. So he was a finalist in 2001 behind Nicholas Lidstrom, who won it that year. That was his first. So...
yeah, I had the number wrong. It was 20. Cote had 21. Iafredi 25, and Hatcher had 34 goals. Jesus.
Yeah, and 93.
Yeah, he had a big.
That was 93.
He had a big shot.
That was like the last great offensive year for the NHL.
96 and 93 were two big offensive years in the NHL. Mario Lemieux led the league in scoring with 160 points both times. But in 93, Lemieux only played 60 games and had 160 points. And he still beat Pat LaFontaine for the Art Ross Trophy by 12 points.
Yeah.
That's disgusting. That's
148, I think LaFontaine had.
148, yes.
Yeah.
Lemieux had 69 goals, too. He was over a goal per game. And that Pittsburgh Penguins team in 93 was the last team to have 4 100-point scorers with Lemieux, Tocchet, Francis, and Stevens. And that top line in Pittsburgh was Lemieux, Tocchet, and Stevens. Yager played with Francis and Daniels on that second line. And then they had a third line that had Joe Mullen and Sean McEachran on it, a rookie Sean McEachran that had almost 70 points as a rookie. And a point per game, Larry Murphy on defense was, I think, 85 points that year? I think it was. Yeah, I think it was 85.
Get to that. I'll get there right now.
Yeah, I believe.
And I believe you're right. Yes.
I believe it was 85. But that Pittsburgh team was stacked. And then in 96, Lemieux and Jágr combined for over 310 points. Lemieux had 161, and then Jágr had 149. And those two both had 260-goal seasons. Lemieux had 69 goals, and Jágr had 62. And then Nedved had 44 goals and 99 points. And Ron Francis cracked 100, almost cracked 120 points, I believe. So
I have this argument all the time about where Mario Lemieux's place sits in
Murphy had
NHL
85
history.
goals in 93, yes. Okay.
And I comfortably, by the way, Arturi Lehkonen for the bottom six?
I don't know what difference he makes there. I mean, is he an upgrade over someone like Dryden Hunt? Sure. But I don't know how much of a big difference he makes. I would rather go after someone else, really.
But this is kind of like one of the opinions that we have with people, or just arguments. Lemieux could have been the greatest player of all time, but I still maintain you got to play those games because who knows?
Yeah, of course. And there's no guarantee that Lemieux would have ended with 224 points in 93, which is what he was on pace for. But I do think that there was a possibility that he could have broken the 200-point mark and became the second player in NHL history to do so. You got to remember, in 89, he had 199 points. He was playing with Rob friggin' Brown. You'd be lucky to find anybody outside of Pittsburgh who knows who Rob Brown is that's born after 1990.
All right. So, yeah, that does cover me.
Yeah. I mean, I know you know who Rob Brown is, but I mean,
yeah.
Rob Brown was, and I'm not trying to dump on Rob Brown, but even Rob Brown himself would probably tell you what Mario did for his career. So for Mario to have those two on his line, two guys, Tocchet could be in the Hall of Fame. He has a case for it. I don't think he'll get in, but Kevin Stevens, he had a one-way ticket to it before the Pilon concussion, and then all the drug use and everything from the painkillers and all that other stuff from the concussions afterward and the headaches and the migraines and stuff. But
depending on your point of view, if obviously as an Islander fan, great hit, but I mean, as an outside fan, looking at
dangerous play, that
was just dangerous play, and I'm not saying it was a cheap shot or anything. I'm just saying
it wasn't a cheap shot. It was an unfortunate event.
Yeah,
it really was, and someone's life changed. I mean, Stevens probably lost out on, I'd say, at least, I don't know, $10-15 million probably because of it, because the contracts weren't that great back then.
Yeah.
If you would have went into the later 90s, still producing the way he was producing, and with those 90s Penguins teams, geez, he would have gotten the buck from, if not there, somebody else would have given him the buck, like big time. I know the Rangers ended up obviously getting him, but
I know that 97-98 season, he was traded to the Rangers for Luc Robitaille, which worked out well for the Rangers. And then it was the second game of the year. I believe they were playing the LA Kings. They were down 2-1, and Mark Savard scored his first NHL goal that was later called back for a man in the crease. I believe it was Kevin Stevens. And then 30 seconds later, the Rangers tied the game anyway. That was like my memory of Kevin Stevens as a New York Ranger.
Yeah, not good memories back then. And Jack, I like Morgan Barron centering the third line. I would like to see him play with some skill players. I think he's looked good over these last few games with the new pack line, as I call them, because the previous pack line was, Anthony's got the Stevens hit. We'll show this.
All right, I'll get it. Oh, he's got it.
Okay, I'll press it.
On 15-17 to go. Period number 1. No score in Game 7. An outlet pass over the head of Lemieux of Pittsburgh. Into the near corner. The Islanders in. Stevens with a booming check in on Pilon. Stevens hurt himself on that play. Kevin Stevens ran
Oh,
into Pilon, knocked
and he
him
was
wide.
out.
Kevin Stevens got the worst of that,
Yeah,
and
he was
Lemieux
out on
quickly
contact.
calling for the Penguin trainer to come out.
And then
Pilon may have gotten his
visor
stick
cut
up to
his
protect
face
himself when
with the
Stevens
ice,
came in because
and
Kevin is
blood was all
bleeding.
over the place. You just a scary moment. Just
And it may have caught him around the eye.
unfortunate
Lemieux
part of the
hurriedly
game, you know?
motioned for Corky Osborne to get
He
over
wants the doctor to come out.
immediately.
Corky Osborne.
I just didn't see Kevin. Oh, he went right down on his face. He went
that's
straight
just
down on
bad.
his face as though he kind of
But we'll
hit
get back
the
to
visor or the helmet.
You know what?
we'll get back to
Steve was the one that initiated the hit. I always thought it was Pilon.
No, it was Stevens initiated the hit. He ended up getting hit in the wrong way and just it was awful. But back to Barron. I like Morgan Barron a lot. I loved his game when he was up last year. I think he looks even better this year so far from the little we've seen. I think he's a solid player. I honestly think that he could be a really good third line center if he improves his skating a little more too. Because I think he's got skill, he's got a shot, he's got a high hockey IQ, he can win faceoffs. He was 7 of 8 on faceoffs in his debut this year. So yeah, I'm with Steven on this and the Hedl experiment there. I just don't think Hedl's the center. I don't know if he has a future going forward.
He's not with the Rangers.
Yeah, not with the Rangers at least. Jack
And
Bluff has to play in the third line, and Barron center him. You know what? I wouldn't mind that. It would be a better center than Philip Hedl, who can't seem to drive play as a center. I wouldn't even mind putting the three of them together and letting them see what they do. I think Morgan Barron has just such a smart hockey mind. And he seems to be adequate at defense. So I definitely like what I've seen from Morgan Barron.
And by the way, Steven quotes it right there, but I was shocked when I looked at that score sheet at the end and went 14 shots. Wow.
Yeah. Couldn't believe that. Couldn't believe that at all.
But I still think the words and people want to creep in the word bust for Lafreniere and Kakko. It's just that they're a long ways away from that, guys. And it's also the Central Scouting had them where they were. We talked about this on the Prospect Show. They were going to pick those guys. That's where they got slotted. That's where they were. So you mean to tell me that 2 years ago they would have passed on Kaapo Kakko for Kirby Dach and been in a better situation?
I would have passed on Kaapo Kakko for Trevor Zegras. And I said that Kakko was the pick to make, but the one player that I would make an exception for would have been Zegras. And I'm not just saying that because of what's going on now. It's because of the fact that they need a center. And I said that with LaPierre over Schneider. So I'm consistent in what I'm saying. So even if you don't agree, you can at least look at me and say that I'm consistent in my stances. But they need a center. And Trevor Zegras, to me, was probably the most talented player in that draft. Jack Hughes was the most ready, but Trevor Zegras was the guy that I think had the absolute most flat out talent. And I don't know how the hell he didn't rise higher in the draft in that year. I don't know what they were thinking, because that kid to me, he was more impressive in the World Juniors than Jack Hughes was those years.
Rich, to answer this, I think if he goes to a different team, maybe one, you know what? No, honestly, he might be a guy that he goes to Arizona or something like that, and just there's no pressure on him. They need a number one center. He finds his game, or a winger to go with some of those guys. I wish the kid well. I know you do too. It's just as far as the Rangers go, he's not their answer.
Yeah, I would move on from him. I don't see them willing to give him the next deal. I would move on to him. I would move on from him after this season probably, or if they can get something for him decent this year, or if they really decide that Chris Drury may want to sit there and say, hey, you know what? This team has a chance to win. And he may want to send a positive message to the guys and go get somebody, and he may surprise us, You know what? Oh, I'm going to send Hedel a first-round pick to San Jose for Tomas Hertl. They may not re-sign Tomas Hertl, but you know what? You're sending a message that you think that this group has a better chance of winning than people are giving them, and that can boost locker room morale. Maybe they win a round or two with Tomas Hertl. I don't know, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? This, like we said in the Ranger segment, this team hasn't found their stride yet. They're not really playing perfectly. If they improve that third unit, then it could be sky's the limit. It's just find somebody that's playing with Panarin, find somebody to play as the fifth defenseman. Because I've said it over and over again, the number one, the most important acquisition of the 2014 New York Rangers was Kevin Klein. Kevin Klein from Michael Del Zotto.
That was a big move. And it was a small move at the time, but Kevin Klein ended up being so big for them because it solidified that third pairing, because John Moore and Michael Del Zotto couldn't play together with each other. They were too offensive minded. Both of them wanted to go skate up and skate with the puck and handle it. And then Kevin Klein came in and just was the perfect piece for John Moore. So I liked Klein as a Ranger. That was a guy who every night played his ass off. He played hurt. He was tough.
He had the game where he lost part of his ear,
yeah,
and then scored the game-winning goal.
It was Pittsburgh, yeah.
But I just don't know if Barron could do the 3C. And I like Morgan Barron.
You know, you're right now. Yeah, it's a lot to ask for a guy who hasn't really. But you know what? I would rather see Morgan Barron try to play as the number 3 center than Barclay Goodrow center that third line.
I agree with you.
And honestly, Barron to me has more natural talent, and I don't think the skating is that far of a downgrade. I mean, Hedel can't do it, and Steven's right. Hedel can't send it.
I don't know if Morgan Barron could do the 3C. Well, Philip Hedel can't.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah,
we know that. So
Philip Hedel, man, that guy, he just had so much.
And here's another thing, Kevin Rooney. I don't want to see Kevin Rooney as a third center. I like Kevin Rooney as a fourth line center. I don't want to see him as a third line center. And this club should not be trying to justify, oh, well, this kid can't come in and help out. Well, you know what? Yeah, this kid can come in and help out, and he's looked really good so far in that fourth line. So why can't he come in and step into that third line role? Keep Rooney on the fourth line, because Rooney isn't the top 6 player, and he's not a top 9 player. He's a fourth liner, and he's a good one at that. Let Morgan Barron grow.
Okay. So, yeah, that's what they got to do. Put him right there. Because we had that in our group chat when they put Rooney on the third line. I was like, I don't like Rooney being on that third line. But
it's this age, grit, experience thing that they keep going with. I just don't understand it. I don't. It's like, you know that guys like Nemeth and Hayek and Tenorti are horrible defenders, but you're going to go with them over Nils and Jones for what reason? You know what you're going to get for them. You're not going to get anything good. Give me Schneider and give me Jones on that third pair. You want to send Nils down? Fine, send them down. I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
But give me Jones and Schneider on that bottom pairing and let them play.
And who knows? Maybe Schneider is the shot in the arm that the team needs for defense.
Yeah. And then not only that, but I mean, even Steven brings up this here. You know, Schneider, Robertson, Jones, Payniemi. Yeah. Give me enough of guys like Greg McKegg. I don't need to see Brodzinski either. Yeah, his game has been okay, but I don't want to see any more of these guys. These minor leaguers that have no future in the NHL. Stop it. You're not you just because you know that what you're going to get from them doesn't mean that they're going to help the team win. I don't get it. I really don't. It's mind-boggling.
kind of looking at the standings at the moment. I'm trying to remember what the hell I was looking up just now. But yeah, let them cook. Let them cook.
Yeah.
I'd put him in there. And look, Lundqvist is gonna adapt to the North American game. That's what he has to do. That kid's gonna be fine. Every scout cannot be wrong.
No, the Jones high, yeah, and Jack's right on this. The Jones Hayek pairing was a disaster, but let's not judge Jones off that. You're right.
Yeah.
Hayek is bad enough to play with. He brings down everybody that he plays with, so I can't fault Jones for Hayek's garbage play. I don't mind seeing them when there's injuries or COVID issues, but they shouldn't be playing. Yeah, I'm with you, David.
But it's also getting the right talent in there. Gotta get the right talent.
Here's the thing. These guys are going to be a part of the future. When, if not now, when?
Yeah. But that's also where I talk about this all the time. People want to go, oh, why is Lucas Raymond putting up all these numbers? Why isn't I think I was talking with Chris T on our group page, but it's because the Rangers were in a position where they were trying to make the playoffs and they were trying to win. So they're not putting that happened the second season under Quinn. They're not trying to put Capo Caco on power play 1 or Alexa Lafreniere on power play 1. And that's where Ryan Strome is. If you're not playing power play 1, you're not getting the points.
Yeah.
But by the way, sorry, Phil, go ahead.
No, I'm with you there. I've been calling for Lafreniere on the first unit for a while, and just and this is the conundrum. They are developing because you have better players in front of them, and then the Rangers are also playing Nemeth and Tenorti because grit and size and toughness, but those guys can't defend and they can't. What physicality are you using if you can't hit what you're skating against?
Yeah.
Think
about Connor McDavid and that move on
Nemeth. Nemeth is just a friggin' turnstile there. He's awful. But, I mean, Richard's comment here, maybe Drury doesn't want to show that he was wrong signing Nemeth and Tenorti. I mean, you can't do that. And, Rich, thank you, buddy. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Rich.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. I don't get it. You know what you're getting. I get that these kids are wild cards, but what are we doing if we're not going to bother developing these kids? If not, then just trade them. Grant, thoughts on going for Giordano and Blackwell? No, Colin Blackwell, because Colin Blackwell is not going to do anything without Artemi Panarin and Ryan Strome on his line. That's why he scored the way that he did last year with that unsustainable shooting percentage. And not only that, but Giordano we talked about before, and I think Giordano is a perfect fit. Jack brought up Giordano earlier on, Grant, and he stated that it was just a perfect fit and that they should get him sooner than later. I think Seattle might hold on to him just a little longer just to drum up a bidding war, rather. I would want to get Giordano. I wonder what the cost will be, but if it's reasonable and I don't have to give up any of the big prospects, I'm definitely all for getting Mark Giordano, because I think Mark Giordano would be perfect for this team. Perfect.
I actually did the list of 3C centers. I haven't done a list on expiring contract defensemen. Again, all these guys, they don't want to take on too much term because they don't want to jeopardize any of their upcoming contracts. By the way, John D. Lee right there, Patrick Nemeth almost killed our goalies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, with this guy.
He's awful. He's just an awful defenseman. I said that the day that they signed that contract. I was like, you know what, this guy is bad. And a lot of fans told me that I was wrong and so on. And now look at who's right and who's wrong. I told you that he almost single-handedly helped lose that series for Colorado against Vegas. He was terrible for them in that series. He cannot play against teams that skate. He can.
Justin, hi, welcome to the live stream.
Hey, Justin, welcome to the show. Yeah, what about Stastny, Grant? I don't know if
Let me check his contract. I think he's signed for a term.
I don't think he's got a ton of term left, but I don't think that I don't think he moves the needle for them, really. Would he be an upgrade? Yeah. Oh no, he's okay. So he's only got 1 year left at $3.75 million. So he's off the books after this year. But I mean, he's got 16 points in 24 games. That ain't bad. He's getting up there in age, and he's 36. And I know I advocate for Pavelski, but Pavelski he's playing great hockey. I just don't know if I maybe. And also the other thing is really the standings with Winnipeg. Winnipeg is not that far out.
That's actually what I was going on to look at the standings on. Winnipeg is, I guess the wild card because I think the wild card's in the Pacific.
They are 4 points behind San Jose, and they have 4 games in hand on San Jose. But they've also got to pass Edmonton, who they only have 1 game in hand on, and they're 1 point behind. And then Calgary, who they have the same amount of games played, and they're 3 points behind. So Winnipeg is another one, just like Dallas. It might be tough, but they might be in it until the end.
I mean, and asking the Rangers to try to pull off a Klingberg Pavelski trade would be too much.
I don't want Klingberg. That's again, another puck mover and he's a good player, very good puck mover. He's gotten better defensively over the years, but it's another puck mover, and it'll cost too much to get him. You're not going to re-sign him. He's a luxury. Go get Giordano at this point. I think he would cost less. I think he could fit in on a third pairing, and then he's better defensively. Hey, mean girl.
You know, you got to feel bad for Cap Friendly because they update this all the time.
Thanks, Richard. Appreciate that. And thank you very much. I'm glad you guys liked it. Sorry.
It was even better with doing it for you live.
Yeah, it was good doing it live. I just wish the StreamYard didn't crash as much. Sorry.
And I just don't understand why YouTube doesn't have it. Because then usually the StreamYard is built so if it doesn't crash, you don't lose everything. So if it crashes, that's why I'm a little bit confused. But I'll let them know.
Ritual, hey, welcome back. I don't think they're canceling the season again. I don't think that's happening. I think at this point they're going with it. They're going to postpone whatever they have to postpone, and that's just going to be it. Unless like COVID gets to the point where it just like breaks out to like 2020 status again, which I don't think it will. I think we're going forward with this season. It's finished.
Yeah, it's going to get to the cases are starting to already sort of go down, and if you're basing it off of what the UK model has shown, then a society should return to normal at some point.
Yeah.
But we're going to do another 3 more minutes because been a long day. What do you think about the idea of splitting up Trouba and Miller?
Don't mind it. They show at times they can work well, and then at other times they show why they need to be split up. There's too many moving parts with Trouba and Miller, and I think if anything they need to be able to play with others so that this way you can still build some solid chemistry with these other guys. So I I would like to see what they could do with apart. I think Keandre Miller limiting his defensive assignments and responsibilities would actually help him. He played so well in his first half of his first season last year. And then just after that, just totally hit a rookie wall. So,
now I know some people in the chat keep saying take Miller, put him in Hartford.
I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think that helps, and I think you might lose him. But
yeah, I don't know if you necessarily lose him, but I just don't think it helps. Trouba with Tenorti would be awful. Please,
I saw that, and I just went nope.
Two guys who really aren't overly mobile. No, thanks.
But I mean, Trouba stepped up with his physicality this year. We're starting to see at least some reasons why the Rangers paid him this money.
Yeah, I don't. I can't send him to Hartford right now. I think he kills confidence that way. I think it's even worse if you sit him in the press box. That just, to me, that's just like Quinn. Oh, well, Capo Caco made a mistake. I'm going to bet you. That's the same thing.
Fucking Quinn.
Yeah, I don't know if Hartford helps Caco either, even though I would be less opposed to that as opposed to Miller going down. Oof. Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah. All right, you ready to head out?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right. Well, guys, this isn't like one of our fastest shows, and yeah, it was hell. We did an hour Q&A. Usually it's at least an hour and a half. But yeah, there wasn't much to talk about this week. Phil said it to me last week. It's funny. I always say we got a big show for you. I didn't say it last week, and we did have a big show for you. So oddly enough on that one. Hopefully Rangers beat San Jose, finish out the road trip. Phil, what do you think for the Islanders? Next 11 games. What is their record?
Ooh, I'd have to look at their schedule. Hold on.
I can actually get that quick.
All right, so they have the Devils tomorrow. I think that is a win. Capitals Saturday, that's a loss. Philadelphia, I think that's a win. So that's 2-1. They're playing a back-to-back against Flyers.
Yeah,
and it's a back-to-back nights too, home and home. So I'm going to say 1-1 there. So that's 2-2. Coyotes and Islanders. Take the Islanders in that one, 3-2. Maple Leafs, Islanders. I'm taking the Maple Leafs there, 3-3. Flyers and Islanders again. 4-3, because I think Islanders will win that one. Kings and Islanders, I think the Kings will win that one. So that's 4-4. Kraken and Islanders win that. Then they lose to the Wild, so that's 5-5. And then the Islanders against the Senators would be the 11th game, and that's a win for me for the Islanders. So 6-5.
All right. Well, that's not going to get it done. I think they need to get to like 8-3.
Yeah, they would. I would say they need to win at least 8.
And they got a bunch of back-to-backs.
Yeah,
they got 3 back-to-backs in this 11-game stretch. That's not a good thing. So, all right, but guys, thank you very much for joining us today. I'll have some of the segments up probably later. I'll have to cut out all the times where I either misspelled someone's name or asked an out-of-date news question. Didn't exactly have my best fastball today. But, guys, thank you very much.
No problem. See you guys later. Let's go, Rangers.
Let's go, Rangers.